Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this afternoon we are here to discuss Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 0. Martin O'Neill came back into the fray, if you like, after the departure of Brendan Rodgers, and he started off his second tenure with a 4-0 win against Falkirk. Following that up, we knock out Rangers in the League Cup to go through to the final, and today, of course, we beat Kilmarnock by the same scoreline as we did Falkirk. It's 4-0 today. And obviously, in between all of that, the domestic football, there was a slightly disappointing night in Europe. Martin O'Neill, though, in terms of a domestic clean sweep, he's managed 3 games back and we've won all 3 of them. That was convincing, wasn't it? That was convincing today. Let's have a wee talk about it. Some of the notes I've got here that I want to discuss with you guys and girls, of course, are the JSP introduction. Simpson Pusey comes in for his first start. Does really well, looked really solid, composed, absolutely no concerns about him whatsoever. Sarachi gets injured. It's another hamstring. Let us know your thoughts on that. They really are piling up at the moment when you consider that we have got injuries at the moment to Jota, Alistair Johnson, Iheanacho, Osmond, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and potentially Sarachi as well going into an international break. Johnny Kenny open to scoring as he did against Rangers. Let me know about your thoughts on his performance this afternoon. Could have even scored more. And then Tunetke had plenty of the ball down the left-hand side. He does look to be, at the moment, our most creative force. We had the chance from the Celtic support, chance about Dermot Desmond, chance about the board, and chance about Martin O'Neill. Of course, the Green Brigade were banned from the game today. I think Kieran Tierney needed that goal. Let's have a wee chat about Kieran Tierney. Comes into the fray due to the departure of Sarachi and scores a brilliant goal, and he enjoyed it. I think he needed it. How are we going to claw back this deficit? As I was saying before the game, Hearts are going to drop points. This is what winning a league's all about. This is what a league-winning campaign endures. You need to be so consistent, and they have been up to this point. But in the last 3 games, they've drawn twice. And they sit 7 points ahead of Celtic, with Celtic with that game in hand, of course. Just looking at the league table, we are 5 ahead of Hibs and Rangers as well. We're not scoring enough goals. So it's great to get 4 today. We're not scoring enough goals. That's just 20 goals we've scored against Hearts' 29. So we're 9 down. But we've got the best defensive record, having only conceded 8. We'll be talking a wee bit more about the defensive display today. I think you've got to mention the man over my shoulder, Kasper Schmeichel, come into for quite a bit of criticism so far this season. He made some really important saves, I think. You know, nothing really stand out, just a really composed display, a strong display by Kasper Schmeichel behind a steady central defensive partnership of Scales and man of the match, Austin Trusty. That will lead us on to the discussion as to why Trusty wasn't getting game time this season under Brendan Rodgers. And then we go 3-0 up. Who scores the goal? Dyson Maeda. Maeda's missed the chance of the first half. It's all about the assist and the finish. Arnie Engels, having come on as a substitute, lines that one up perfectly. Brilliant. It shows what he can do. How often have we seen that from Arnie Engels over the piece? Not as often as we should have done this season, unfortunately. And then, of course, he gets his own goal by making it 4-0 from the penalty spot. And I'm looking for Big Hugh and Martin in the comment section coming in to give some praise to Yang. We go into another international break, don't we, with an interim manager in charge, Martin O'Neill, with a perfect domestic record. 3 games played, 3 games won. Gets us into a cup final, beats Rangers for the first time in a while as well. So that's all looking good. Well, we're showing up in Europe. Not much Martin O'Neill could have done about that. That's down to the quality of the squad, unfortunately. And the fact there was a little bit of a to and fro on the socials, actually, in relation to this. They were being called a Diddy Danish team. Midtjylland are no Diddy team. Absolutely not. They have embraced innovative data analysis when it comes to performance and recruitment. And they have done it on an absolute fraction of the turnover that Celtic enjoy. With a tiny stadium that has a capacity which is the same size as a Jock Stein stand. And they have managed to do that over a period of time and become far more of a force in Europe than we are. So I'm not having that they're called a Danish Diddy team. Absolutely not. They're innovative. They're forward thinking. They're a modern football club. They're all these things that Celtic can be and should be, but we're not going to labour that. We're going to be talking today about the performance and the outcome. Here we go. Let's bring in Stephen Kickstart 1. You're the first, and you come. I know Acsom don't want to rock the boat, but surely the Green Brigade must be called out for the behaviour. Enough is enough. Assaulting staff and police at the Falkirk game is disgraceful. I'm bringing this up. I'm going to bring up as many comments as I can, but we all focus on the game. But as Stephen brings it up in terms of not wanting to rock the boat, I think in relation to that particular incident, Stephen, the Green Brigade were on a suspended ban. And under these circumstances, and I don't agree with that, it appears to me as though the club were going to, spark that ban into life for any reason whatsoever. I've heard conflicting views on actually what happened underneath the concourse. Of course, unless you're there, you don't know exactly what happened. All we've seen is a lot of bodies moving from their standing area into the concourse. That's all that was shown by the club for obvious reasons, particularly if there has been anything criminal. But it'll all come out in the wash, Stephen. So it's not about not wanting to rock the boat. We obviously are in a position where we don't know what's happened. We've got to take the words of our fellow Celtic fans within that section. And I've got to say, when it's up against a board and an authority in the police who for a number of weeks have been policing Celtic fans really robustly in relation to leaving your seat to go for a juice or something during a game, and then constantly having to re-show them your tickets as if you've smuggled somebody in with you, is a wee bit hard-handed. So I think there's two sides, and we will get to the truth. But in relation to those Celtic fans who are not there today, I think in solidarity, Acsom would stand with those Celtic supporters, Stephen. So it's not about sitting on the fence. I try my best not to do that. Here we go. Rob of Reason. Why did this take a week to announce the issue? First I've heard of it. Rob, we're talking about the issue at the Falkirk game. I think that's also an issue. The timing seems very unusual as well. So let's get as many of you involved as possible. Kick-off was at 4 o'clock, Douglas Baird. I'm not quite sure why it was at 4 o'clock, but by half-time we knew that Hearts had dropped points. So that was useful as well. And I think that when you look at the next set of fixtures once you come back from the international break, you can see some difficult games. So for the first two fixtures, Celtic and Hearts are both playing away from home. So St Mirren versus Celtic and Aberdeen versus Hearts will be the first set of fixtures there if we're focusing on Celtic and Hearts as the two leaders. And, these are the games. These are the types of games that you go to Paisley and you've just got to come back with the 3 points. But Hearts are going to Pittodrie, and that's not an easy venue for them to visit either. Then the next set of fixtures brings Hearts to Motherwell away from home, and Celtic will go to Hibs. That's a tough game for Celtic. So on the one hand, you've got difficult fixtures for Hearts, difficult fixtures for Celtic. Following that, Celtic play Dundee at home, and Hearts face Kilmarnock at home, as we did today. And then there's the head-to-head, Celtic play Hearts. So you look at this set of 4 fixtures, and I don't know how you work, but I look at that and think, right, is there an opportunity there for Celtic to pick up maximum points over the piece? Yes, there is. I think there absolutely is. And I think that when you look at the form that we've shown since Martin O'Neill came back in, we are in, I think, a good run of form. My only concern is the amount of injuries that we've been having. The good thing in relation to that, though, is we have a manager who is more than prepared to bring in players who have been out in the cold. And we saw that, obviously, today with Jemai Simpson-Pusey. How do you think he played? I thought he was pretty solid. He looked composed. Certainly didn't show anything whatsoever of concern as to why he was out the team. And I think that, the more players who you can rely on, the better. The unfortunate thing is, obviously, we had an injury to CCV, so we were able to swap his Europa League place with Callum Osmond. He then gets injured, and the injuries are coming in so thick and fast. I've not even had an opportunity to see if you can use Callum Osman's space for Simpson Pusey or Shin Yamada, depending on where you think we need more support. Because as I said before, we've got Jota. He'll probably not be seen until January. Alistair Johnston, muscle injury, actual muscle injury. Osman, the same. CCV is going to be out for some time. So time for a beer or two. Well, I hope you enjoy that, Douglas. Whatever your sherbet of choice is, I hope you enjoy it. John McVeigh, hail to you as well. You tune in on a regular basis from Thailand. And it's always a pleasure to see where our Acsom viewers and listeners are watching from. So what we've got here, wrong headline up. I've got it as Celtic v Kilmarnock live full-time reaction. I don't know how it's appearing on YouTube, but I'll get that sorted if it's incorrect. Full-time reaction. It is full-time, isn't it? Yeah. Don't know if I'm coming or going at times. Here we go. So thanks every single one of you for getting involved in the chat. Let us know what you felt. Are the Green Brigade supporters bully bad boys? No, I don't think they are, John. I think they're fans like you and I, but everybody supports Celtic in their own way. And they are going to be celebrating 20 years as a recognised ultra group next year. So in order to have that dedication to keep something going that long is quite incredible when you consider home and away, the Tifos, European games, fighting for a greater good when you look at the charitable endeavours as well. But obviously, there's a way of painting pictures. And I think that when you're looking at the relationship with the club at the moment, that's not good. That's not a good relationship, and we need to overcome that. And I think that this is the latest indication that that's kind of hardline tactics, really. We knew that the Green Brigade had a suspended ban from the club, and they have pushed the button on that. Very disappointing, because that was a brilliant result there. And, since everything's happened, the way that it happened wasn't good. I'll not go back on that. I didn't like the statement from Dermot Desmond. But Martin O'Neill came in and refreshed the group of players. I mean, this is what I really want to focus on today, because we do talk a lot about the board and all the other topics that we may not be happy with, and we talk about that on a daily basis on the bulletin. But today it's about the performance. It's about Martin O'Neill breathing new life into a group of players that I felt looked demoralised. I really did, leading into Martin O'Neill's return to Celtic. I felt we had a group of players who we knew what they could do. I mean, there's Austin Trusty, for example, right? So Austin Trusty was man of the match today. And he was man of the match against Rangers. And obviously all the focus was on him and Butland and, most of the media and everybody else that jumps into that focus just on that one challenge, rather than looking at all the other incidents in the game that the ref clearly got wrong. But he's come back, and I think that there's a real confidence about Austin Trusty. Now, I don't want to turn this into an anti-Brendan Rodgers narrative. I really don't. But we know that since Trusty comes into the football club, he's not always been a first choice, and particularly this season. But there was that incident, of course, at Dens Park. And I'm talking about harmony and building the confidence and the morale of your team. Because I felt morale, I think we were demoralised. And that is what happened before Brendan Rodgers left. There was a lack of morale. That doesn't help when the incident happens at Dundee and you're clearly saying that the player's weak. It doesn't help when players are brought to the football club. Not only are they not played, but they're not included in the Europa League squad. That doesn't help. It doesn't help. And this is out of Brendan's hands, out of any manager's hands at Celtic. When players are more or less on their way to another club and then it's all pulled back. We had that incident with Ida. We had it with Yang. We had it with Maeda. Ida finally got his move. The other two players are still here. And both of them contributed. But it was very difficult to get them to contribute, I felt, under Brendan Rodgers. I just don't think he was able to tap into it. And it looks as though the change has been good for a lot of these guys. So Trusty is the prime example. Dyson Maeda hasn't been perfect. I thought he was excellent today. I thought he was brilliant against Rangers. I thought he was phenomenal. It was the Dyson of old against Rangers. He gets his goal today. He should have scored that one in the first half. That was a really poor miss. But we win a game 4-0 that, this is becoming a cliche. If we were still stuck in that rut, with a demoralised team and dressing room and Brendan Rodgers at the helm, do we win games against Falkirk and Kilmarnock as well as we have done? 2-4-0 wins. Do we win that game against Rangers, albeit it goes into extra time? That doesn't bother me in the slightest. We should have won it in the 90 minutes, actually. Jamesy Forrest had a great chance and hits the bar. It was never a penalty, in my view, either, for Rangers. So we win that game. Would we have done so under Brendan Rodgers? And it's not, again, an anti-Brendan narrative. It's just that the mood in the camp was not good. It was demoralised. Stevie boy, you are a regular on Acsom. Always a pleasure to see you. I shall expect a strongly worded statement from Celtic about the assault on Dyson there. No, okay then. We just get up and get on with it. And obviously you are talking about the incident where he's breaking away and he's absolutely taken out rugby style. And it happens, doesn't it? Right in front of Don Robertson. I mean, you're talking yards in front of Don Robertson, and the Kilmarnock player takes a booking. But yes, the narrative has been since the Rangers game a week ago. It's all been about that tackle on the goalie. Nothing else really was looked at. The Hatate moment, embarrassingly, wasn't even looked at. It wasn't focused on. And I think that this is where, and it's not for everyone, but this, I think, where fan media, if you want to call it fan media, comes into its own, because there are certain agendas within certain areas of the mainstream media where they just focus on Trusty. They don't talk about enough. They don't talk enough about the Ralston penalty, the Dyson Maida onside goal that was chopped off. They don't talk about the challenge that Cornelius put in on Johnny Kenny and almost snapped his leg. They don't talk about Rio Tati getting shoved over in the box and it's a penalty. They just focus on Trusty. And obviously, we have green tinted specs. We are Celtic supporters and we approach every single show with that fresh in the mind, and you still try to be balanced. But what we do is we'll certainly pick up on instances that the mainstream completely ignore. And that's what's been happening this week, isn't it? So let's bring in a couple more of your views. Every time we have him, he does the same. We're talking, Richie, about the referee, Don Robertson. Surely we are not the only ones that notice. Well, it's great sometimes when you hear the Celtic minded commentary team talking about it, because they do not hold back, especially Tom Boyd. John McDowell, that ref is shockingly bad. I'll tell you what was shockingly bad, John. The commentator on TNT for Celtic's game against Midtjylland, Jamie Lyle, absolutely delighted that we got beat, was frothing at the mouth every single time Midtjylland was on the attack. He basically made it out as if Celtic were in a crisis that we would never come back from, and we might not even exist this time next year. It was horrific, and big Johan Mjällby was sitting next to him. And I think that, he did really, really well not to get a wee bit more angry with him, because he was the worst commentator I have ever heard. And that standard is often high, I've got to say, but not on that particular occasion. Here we go. Colin Bean. Not convinced by Simpson Pusey, Colin. Any reason why? Early days, I guess. Yes, we obviously have only seen today's performance in a Celtic jersey from Simpson Pusey. He plays right back. He can play there, of course, he showed that, but he can also play right-sided centre back. Drafting him in today, I think, was a very, very good move, because we need to make sure, regardless of who's in charge, that between now and January, we can maximise every single person in our squad who's capable of contributing. I think he might not be a first pick if everybody's fit. In fact, he's not. However, it would be good to have these players that you can rely upon and not just throw them in when we're desperate. So today was a good move to bring him in, if you ask me. River C. Free. Robertson always starts disrupting the play when we're about to run away with a game. Okay, we're going to go back to Johnny Kenny. Opens the scoring today, just like he did against Rangers, and we win both games. Johnny Kenny is a player who comes over with something of a goal-scoring reputation as a young man, signing from Sligo Rovers. And what we did initially is we tried to loan him out to Queen's Park. Obviously, there's a slight difference between the Scottish game and the Irish game, but not just that. There is that transition of the player. I was talking about The Boy in the Shed, the autobiography of a Newcastle United footballer called Paul Ferris, came over from Lisburn, and he speaks about how difficult it was for a young boy coming over. We tend to forget that as fans, don't we? We just think these guys are robots. They're not. He was suffering homesickness. He didn't look like he was the real deal for Queen's Park, and Celtic sent him back on loan over to Ireland, to Shamrock Rovers. And you know what? He could have just disappeared into obscurity, or he could have just disappeared back into Irish football. No disrespect meant to Irish football, but disappeared from view. But he didn't. He worked hard, started scoring goals, came back to our attention, I think, because of his record in Europe, Conference League, scoring goals. He's brought back in, unfancied, unfashionable player, scores a goal off the bench against Aberdeen last season. This season, we're looking at him. I think he was a victim of the fact that we didn't do very good business in the transfer window, and we're expecting maybe a quality striker to come in during January. The summer didn't happen. Johnny Kenny is now a player we need to utilise. But I'll tell you something, he is proving a lot of people wrong. He's proven me wrong. I'm talking quality, and by the way, there are occasions where I still see that lack of quality in him. I think against Midtjylland, it was difficult for him, of course, because we didn't play particularly well in that game. But when he got the ball, he didn't use it that well against Midtjylland, unfortunately. Didn't hold the ball up well. His distribution wasn't great. But then you see him today, you see him against Rangers and against Falkirk, and it's 4-4. And as we sit here right now, he is Celtic's first choice striker. That's the way it's going to be at the moment. Before the game started, we spoke about a 5-3-2. A 3-5-2, not a 5-3-2, 3-5-2, and maybe giving him some support up top. It didn't happen. But Johnny Kenny's doing just fine at the moment, and long may that continue for the kid. I think I was talking to Quinny a couple of Mondays ago. I look forward to speaking to Quinny tomorrow. We're looking at the possibility of Johnny Kenny getting 15 goals for Celtic in a season. I mean, if he does that, that's a successful season for the kid. I know I'm calling him a kid. He's in his early 20s. But he could have been away, like Liam Scales before him. He could have been away. And it was Bolton Wanderers who were interested in him as well. Ian Roy, don't forget the ridiculous offside against Kelly. As we broke forward, the ref called it back. That's right. And there was also, as pointed out by Liam, the Liam G.A. Reid. The brown dive in his own box should have been a penalty to Celtic. The brown dive in his own box was an embarrassment to professional footballers all over the globe. So thank you, everybody, for getting involved. Keep the comments coming in. We've got a few more. I've got to say thank you to Dylan for supporting the channel. Always an absolute pleasure to come on live, as we do every single day on a weekday, 12:30. Be there tomorrow, and 30 minutes before every game, and post-match also. We've also got AG times AG, and it would appear that we were in the same room last Friday, and I hope that we spoke. You didn't tell me what your handle was, but yeah, it was a fantastic night at the Greenock Celtic Supporters Club. And I've got to say, sometimes things happen during these evenings that I'm not 100% sure of until after the event. And we were taking all the boxes of stuff that you need to take to these events. And my missus said that some kind person in Greenock had handed in a wee gift. And the gift was for us to raffle or auction off for a good cause. And we'll be doing that. But I wasn't sure what it was until I dug into the box. And I've pulled this. It's like a booklet, a Greenock Celtic Supporters 50th anniversary booklet that was produced in 1995. It's a beautiful, it really is. It's like a big programme, and it looks really good. But not only that, it's signed, right? So I'm guessing, and people in Greenock can tell me on the comment section, I'm guessing that at the 50th anniversary dance, you invited Paul McStay, Jimmy Johnston, and Stevie Chalmers, because it's been signed by all three of them on the front of this fantastic piece of Celtic history. So thank you very much. The unnamed person who, through the kindness of their heart, handed this item in for us to raise some money for charity. So we'll be doing that very soon. Big Sutton was tremendous last week in the Greenock Celtic. Had a great night, so did I. And we will be back. I'm hoping for a few more nights in 2026. We've also got Fred Williams talking about the performance of our debutante today as well. Fred, remember, it is a family show as well. Some of the other performers, I think, Kieran Tierney. Where are we with Kieran Tierney? Were we concerned at his performances? Well, we spoke about him before the game, and the fact that he'd lost his jersey to Sriracha, the now injured Sriracha. The fact that Tierney didn't look as though he was the same player. What about him celebrating that goal? Is it because that he's been written off by many people, that he is determined to overcome whatever it is that is holding him back that wee bit? Because it was a dream return both for him and many Celtic fans when he came back to Celtic from Arsenal. And I think that Johnny Kenny points out he's 22. Most of the team that we played the other night were younger than that. Loopy, you're right. And that's why I'm not having anybody call name a Diddy Danish team. They've got a vision. They've got a structure in place, and they are bearing fruit. So that comes into developing players from your own academy and purchasing players that fit your system rather than just throwing darts at a board. So thank you, every single one of you. AG, there we go. I was one of the late ones. You took me into the room to get my picture signed. I never thought to hang about as the other host, can't mind his name, was talking to you. Yeah, that might have been Colin, Big Colin Watt, our friend and erstwhile member of a Celtic State of Mind. Yeah, Annie Engels, there's a player. Annie Engels, Celtic's record signing. Sean MC, 1888. Brilliant assist and penalty from Engels. Need more of the passes from him when Maeda is running in behind. He's fantastic at that type of pass. He splits defences with that pass, and if someone is able to get in behind the defenders, as Maeda did, we'll score goals against any defence with that level of quality. It was a phenomenal pass. Anyone who tunes into Acsom, and we have had a lot of new listeners and viewers over the last few weeks, so welcome to every single one of you, will know that I'm a big Annie Engels fan. Why is that? Is it because I'm dying on a hill because I've made my feelings known and I'm not going to go back? Absolutely not. I mean, I also made my feelings known on Johnny Kenny, but he's changed my mind. He's scoring goals. He's deserving of his jersey. But Annie Engels, for me, is a player with huge potential, and I just didn't think we had found his best role. I actually think he had a decent season across the piece last year. I think that when you win a double and you progress into a knockout round of the Champions League, it's a successful season for Celtic. Part of that success was the performances of the three big signings, Trusty, Ida and Engels. And I'll stick by that. I mean, it's a difficult argument to argue against it. Ida's gone. Trusty lost his place until Martin O'Neill comes back in. And Engels had done the same. So I'm really delighted for him today. I thought also against Rangers he was fantastic. But also against Sturm Graz under Brendan Rodgers, he was brilliant. So he's not a player I've been willing to write off. Jose Betis. There are many kind people in Greenock. Yes, there are. I always enjoy my visits to Greenock. Opinionated Glaswegian. So I'm starting to think you fancy Big Stevie. Stop flirting, bud. You never know what happens in the comment section of an Acsom live stream, to be honest with you. But, I'll just leave all that to you, gentlemen. We were completely ineffective down the right. JSP wouldn't overlap, and Dyson couldn't beat his man. It's a fair point, and I mean, he's not specifically a right back, as Simpson Pusey. I think my point is, unless he's a Kwon type player, right? Sorry, Kwon, and it's pretty clear that you're just simply not good enough, then I'm just at a loss as to why Simpson Pusey has not been in and around the squad. I just do not understand it. And it's the same with Callum Osmond, because when we think about these issues that Brendan Rodgers has clearly had with the hierarchy at Celtic, despite the fact that not that long ago, just a matter of weeks ago, the CEO told us everything was great, everybody was happy, the structure was fine, the recruitment was fine, everybody's aligned, and there's no issues between Brendan and the execs. It was pretty clear that was far from the truth, because Monday's statement happened, and it makes you wonder why all these players were not being played. Was a point being made? Because if so, I don't agree with that, because it's not good for Celtic. Shadow, there you go. You reckon Simpson Pusey did okay for his first appearance? More game time might reap rewards for us in an injury-hit team. Well, it's going to have to It's absolutely going to have to, right? And Michael Boy, Kenny is only a young guy. Can't judge him too harshly. Never got a chance under Rodgers. He's getting a chance now, Michael, and he's repaying a bit of faith, and he's proven a lot of people wrong as well, Michael. He could have been away to Bolton Wanderers during the summer, but he's not. He's here. He's got a 4-year deal, and he's banging in the goals. Good enough for me. Thank you, every single one of you, for getting involved today. It's been really enjoyable running solo, because it means I've got more of an opportunity to speak to everybody that's taking the time not only to watch the show, but to make comments on the various platforms, from Facebook to YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, X, and Instagram. Thank you, every single one of you. Great to see some of the names jumping in on the old Instagram as well, getting round Instagram quite late to that party. Jimmy Walker, Jamie Mack, Wee Velma, Resistance is the Only, Cal McCanich. There you go. What a phenomenal name that is to see on Instagram. Go and check him out. He is a phenomenal Scottish actor. Seep McGee, Michael F. Smith, and Kevin Sivan. Thank you. We're growing our Instagram. Mackinich. Sorry, that's me. Apologies. My name gets that same treatment as well, Cal, so apologies for that. Fantastic actor. Go and check him out. And there's a movie called Calibre that you need to go and check out. It's also got Tony Curran in it, and it's brilliant. And I think I watched it on Netflix, so go and check that one out as well. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. What else are we up to? Well, as always, Monday to Friday, 12:30, check us out on the live stream. That is going to be very, very soon filmed in a studio and streamed live from the studio setting. But at the moment, it will be here. This is not my bedroom. I've also been accused of this. It's a little studio space that I've got in a converted garage. So yes, people thought that my bed was over there with Celtic bed sheets and Celtic teddies and all that kind of stuff. And one of these days, I'm going to break the fourth wall and show you just exactly what's over there. So what else are we up to? We have This Is Acsom on Friday night. I'm going to be joined by Jeanette Finlay. We're going to be talking about the forthcoming AGM as well, and the part you can play if you're a small shareholder at Celtic and you want your voice to be heard. We also have a few live events coming up. We've got one with Scott Brown and one with Paul Elliott. If you want to take a wee throwback to the 1990s, Paul Elliott is joining us in Gracie's. Bruni is in Barra's Art and Design. Brilliant night ahead on both occasions. Very few tickets left, but all the links are underneath this video. Thank you all for getting involved. You can go away and enjoy the rest of your weekend with a wee spring in your step, because Celtic beat Kilmarnock 4-0. Join us tomorrow at 12:30 on A Celtic State of Mind.